antagonistic political camps separated the siblings. During the civil war following the Second World War, Red Sister did her best to help the communists beat Chang, even though this meant the ruin of her family. After the collapse of Chang's regime and the founding of Communist China under Mao Zedong, in 1949, Red Sister became Mao's vice-chairman. Clearly the sisters were exceptional beyond their influential marriages. In the Chinese-speaking world, people never tire of talking about them, including their private lives. I remember two particular stories from when I was growing up in Mao's China from the 1950s to the 1970s, when the country was under rigid totalitarian control and completely isolated from the outside world. One was that Madame Chiang, little sister, bathed every day in milk to keep her skin luminous. In those days, milk, highly nutritious and desirable, was scarce and unavailable to the average family. Using it as bath water was deemed an outrageous indulgence. Once a teacher attempted to redress this common myth and muttered to his pupils, "Well, do you really think it would be pleasant to bathe in milk?" He soon entered the ranks of the condemned rightists. The other story that left a deep impression on me was that Ching-ling, vice-chairman of puritanical Red China, was living together with her chief bodyguard, who was less than half her age. It was said that they had developed a physical relationship as a result of the bodyguard carrying her on and off her bed when she was old and wheelchair-bound. People endlessly speculated about whether they got married and argued over whether the relationship was acceptable. The word was that the party permitted the affair out of consideration for the fact that Ching-ling had been widowed for a long time and needed a man, and that the party even allowed her to keep the prestigious name of Madame Sun. I remember this tale particularly well because it was so rare to hear gossip about the sex life of a leader of the country. No one dared wag their tongue about any other top officials. After Mao died in 1976 and China opened up, I settled in Britain and learned much more about the sisters. I was even commissioned in the mid-1980s to write a short book about Red Sister, Ching-ling. But although I did some research and put together some 30,000 words, curiously, I felt uninvolved with my subject. I did not even try to get to the bottom of the scandal involving the bodyguard. In 1991, Wild Swans, Three Daughters of China, the book about the lives of my grandmother, my mother, and myself, was published. I went on to write a biography of Mao with my husband, John Halliday. Mao and his shadow dominated the first 26 years of my life, and I was eager to find out more about him. Then Empress Dowager Tzu-chi, the last great monarch of China, uncrowned as women were not allowed to be monarchs, caught my attention. Rising from a low-rank concubine to a stateswoman, Tzu-chi ruled the empire from behind the throne for decades and brought the medieval country into the modern age. Both my subjects riveted me and absorbed 20 years of my life. Whom I should write about next was a difficult choice. The idea of the Soong sisters came up, but I ruled it out. After Wild Swans, I had been writing about program setters and history changers, which the sisters were not. As individuals, from the information available, they remained fairy tale figures, summed up by the much-quoted description, "In China, there were 3 sisters. One loved money, one loved power, and one loved her country." There seemed to be no mental conflicts, moral dilemmas, or agonizing decisions, all the things that make human beings real and interesting. Instead, I thought of writing about Sun Yat-sen, the father of Republican China. Living from 1866 to 1925, and rising to prominence in the period from Tzu-chi to Mao, Sun was a program setter, like them, and was a sort of bridge between them. Under Tzu-chi, China had begun the journey towards parliamentary democracy.